I found the world that doesn't exist. It looks simple, almost playful. A Minecraft ARG you could scroll right past. But if you pay attention, you start to notice the cracks, the strange colors, the impossible places. And behind it all is a story far older than the game itself. A story reaching back to the 1800s. A story about knowledge you weren't meant to have and worlds you weren't meant to see. Today, I want to dive into the lore behind this ARG and explore why it's so unsettlingly effective. What seems like a simple world quickly reveals itself to be anything but. The deeper you go, the stranger it becomes, until you realize this isn't just a game world. It's something far older and far more unsettling. The story revolves around two people, starting with someone named Avery, but mostly following a player named Durlord. Durlord discovers a mine and beneath it a hidden tunnel. As he explores farther, the spaces begin to feel wrong, stretching impossibly, connecting to places that shouldn't exist. Eventually, he reaches a village where yellow dominates everything: the windows, the carpets, the atmosphere itself. He later comes across a church and a mysterious book warning him not to go any farther. He ignores it, and beneath the church lies a hidden passage that leads to a crossroads. Durlord turns left. Almost immediately, he encounters massive golden gates. He looks past them, but whatever he sees is blurred, hidden from us. Whatever was behind those gates was enough to make him run without hesitation. Back at the crossroads, he continues on to the right path, and breaking through stone, he somehow ends up back in his original mind. Before disappearing, he leaves a message, the book that Avery later finds. At the crossroads, don't turn left. And then the story ends. We're left without answers, only warnings. You see, what makes this ARG so unsettling isn't just the impossible terrain or the yellow village, it's the story that it's quietly referencing. As most people know by now, beneath the surface is The King in Yellow, a work of horror from the 1800s. In the story, the danger isn't a creature or a curse, it's knowledge, seeing too much, understanding something you were never meant to understand. And once you make that connection, the ARG starts to feel less like a Minecraft mystery and more like a warning. I will give him credit, Wi-Fi's did solve a lot of the mystery for us, but he made sure to keep a lot of secret things hidden that was left for us to uncover. For example, the cipher on top of the doorway. The protagonist solved it, but Wi-Fi's never tells us what it really was. Because of that fact, I believe that it plays a big part in the secret behind the ARG. Now, I'm no puzzle solver, and I don't know the first thing about ciphers, so I looked online, and I found somebody who actually solved this. So shout out to Mud for solving it, you're the GOAT, bro. So now we can finally know what the poem says. These empty silences hold more than they seem, the whispered shadows dance upon the walls, and the unseen movements of the air. The poem finds its breath. There's no obvious relation, and after digging into it and asking ChatGPT, I just couldn't really find anything that relates to the King in Yellow. So if you guys have any theories, let me know in the comments. Sadly, that didn't take us anywhere, but what I think will take us somewhere is how Durlord reacted to what he saw behind the yellow doors. There are three main theories to what he saw, and I want to break this down very thoroughly because this will give us the answers to many other mysteries we have in the ARG. The first and most obvious theory is that what Durlord saw behind the gates was the King in Yellow, and this is widely believed because in the book The King in Yellow, the King in Yellow is the main source of insanity and infinite knowledge. So theoretically, Durlord could have seen the King in Yellow, and by seeing the King in Yellow, he gained this infinite knowledge and just lost his mind. And the only problem I actually see with this theory is that in the book itself, the King in Yellow is the source, but you don't actually go insane by seeing the King in Yellow. You go insane by reading the second act of the play in the book, which is actually theory number 2. So a lot of people online actually suggested that Act 2 is what Durlord read, and you can kind of see him doing this left to right motion very slightly. when looking at the blurred image, so that easily could be it. And by reading the text that was maybe like on a wall written in blocks, he probably gained infinite knowledge from that. And as Durlord started to take in all this infinite knowledge, he must have seen Avery being like the same thing happening to him. So he quickly wrote a warning to Avery. And you might be wondering, hey, how is that what he saw? How did he see Avery and not like some other random thing from infinite knowledge? And that kind of ties into theory number 3. Now for the third and final theory is that Durlord actually became the King in Yellow by reading Act 2. And instead of being consumed by infinite knowledge, he might have been able to navigate the infinite knowledge, even though it's still a bit of a curse. And that way he was able to see Avery and the same thing happening to him, and he wanted to stop that from happening to Avery. So that's how he was able to retain his mind long enough to send a message to Avery. What makes this ARG so compelling is that none of these theories cancel each other out. Depending on what you choose to believe, the entire story shifts. If the story represents forbidden knowledge, then the ARG becomes a warning about curiosity itself. If the world is already infected, then every step Durlord takes was doomed from the start. And if the viewer is part of the story, then simply watching this ARG means we've already crossed the line. Each interpretation changes how you read every detail. The Yellow Village, the blurred gates, the choice at the crossroads. The ARG never tells us which one is true, and that silence feels intentional. So if this video does well, I want to leave the final choice to you guys. I'll run a poll asking which interpretation you guys want me to do a video on, and I will cover how that changes the story in a more in-depth video. What separates this ARG from most Minecraft horror, it obviously isn't the monsters or the jump scare, it's the restraint it shows. The world itself becomes the threat. The danger isn't being chased, it's observing, understanding, and choosing to go further. Yellow isn't just a color. Gates aren't just structures. Choices aren't just gameplay decisions. Everything exists to reinforce one idea. Some knowledge changes you by simply witnessing it. The ARG isn't super obvious. It waits. And by watching it, by trying to understand it, you become part of the story. And that's where the story ends, at least for now. The world that doesn't exist remains just out of reach, hidden behind golden gates we're never meant to see through. Maybe that's the point. The horror isn't what's behind the gates, it's the fact that we want to know. And as long as someone is watching, the world continues to exist, quietly waiting for the next person to find it. Thank you so much to everyone who made it to the end. I really appreciate it for my first video. And make sure to subscribe if you want to see a part 2, diving more into Durlord or theories or anything you guys want. So let me know in the comments what you want to see more of, and I'm happy to supply that. I have big plans for this channel, so make sure you do subscribe, and I will be seeing you in much more videos. See ya.